All right, so we're going to do another eBay unboxing. I got my holy relics. And, all right, let's get into it. So we're going to do the unboxing in fast motion. This is for documentary purposes only because this was quite expensive. Holy moly. Okay, so it's the relic of Saint Therese of Lisieux, and she's one of the most actually revered saints of all times. Now, it looks like a bone is in there, so this would be a first-class relic. And now, the seller did not say if it had a stamp on it from the, from the Postula General. And I'm going to try to pull this out. She never pulled it out. And yes, it does. Oh, this is fantastic. So this is a reliquary, and this is a relic. Very interesting. I'm going to put it back. I want to get it centered right. It was authenticated, and that is fantastic. So now we know that we have an authenticated saint relic. I'll be right back after I get this back in. Whew. I'm so relieved. I was so afraid I was going to get a rock in a box. Yes, that's happened on eBay. You order something really expensive and some sellers are scam artists. Okay, so basically, I'm not going to tell you what I paid for this, but I could have gotten a brand new Louis Vuitton. I could have gotten a brand new Louis Vuitton purse for what I paid for this. Now, this is very, very rare. This is a micro mosaic crucifix. Now, generally, these were made by the Vatican Studios or metal works or metal foundries or jewelers in Rome, in Italy. These are called micro mosaic crucifixes. They were very popular in the 19th century all the way to the early 20th century, and they waned out of popularity around the mid to late 50s. And then they really, I mean, they're still being made, but not as much. And so this is very cool because generally they look like this. And I'll show you one of my other ones in my collection. And it does not have the relic in it. And so this one has the blessed remains of Saint Therese of Lisieux. She's, of the infant Jesus. And she's one of my favorite saints of all times. Absolutely one of my favorite saints. And I believe it's an ex ossibus, which is of the bones. Because when I looked up closely, I saw a bone inside the glue. They do glue these little relics in here. We have the name. This is genuine, which is quite cool. Now, generally, they would come with some kind of a certificate from the Postula General in the Vatican, but they go missing. So all the time, they go missing. And so 9 times out of 10, you don't get the certificate with it. But when you see the wax seal, you know it's real. And these are worth several $1,000s. At a minimum, about $1,500 to about $4,000 to $5,000. And yeah. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for it, but this is sensational. All right. So not only do we have this beautiful micro mosaic cross, which is little glass tiles, hundreds of them that are placed into a little frame. It could be jewelry. It could be art in a frame. It could be earrings, bracelet, necklace, crucifix, all sorts of things. And Italy was very known for this. There we go. It did not start in Italy, but during Roman times, they had these micro mosaics as well. And look at these. These are the basilicas of the Vatican. Now, the Vatican did not become the Vatican until I think it was when Pope Pius X was around, or Pope Pius XI. I think when Pope Pius XI was around. So this was before, like, the Vatican was the Vatican, most of these crosses, or crucifixes. Now, this would be considered a cross because there's no Jesus on it. Like, this one has Jesus, so this is a crucifix. Very, very cool. Now, this one, without the relic, would probably be worth anywhere between $600 to $1,000. It depends on where you sell it. If you're going to auction it off, lower. If you're going to set it with a fixed price, it could sit there for 6 months to a year, but somebody will always buy these. They're highly collected. Now, relics. There's first class, second class, and third class relics. First class is what you want when you collect these very, very holy articles. And first class is of the saint's body. Bones, skin, hair, brain, muscle, toenail, fingernail. Now, second class is something they wore. It could have been a hat. It could have been a veil, a cloak, a shoelace, a stocking, something like that. Third class is me taking this, and now I have my regular crucifix. This is the pardon crucifix that Pope Pius X had actually created. This is the pardon crucifix. This is a very old one, probably from about the First World War. And I'm going to touch it to this. And now this becomes a third-class relic. Now, as Catholics, we are not supposed to have first-class relics. Now, I'm supposed to, according to the Catholic faith, give this to my priest, or give this to the church, or give it to the Vatican. Not going to happen. I'm going to probably get in trouble somewhere along the line, but I'm not giving this up. This is actually something I will share, because you're really supposed to share this with others. It's greedy to keep it for yourself. So I will have a tour of this. I will ask the local Catholic churches in my area if during the feast of St. Therese, they would like me to bring this crucifix in, and then people can touch their rosaries or their crucifixes to it and make it become third-class relics. Now, I'm going to show you what a third-class relic also may look like. You'll see these medals over here, and you'll see these holy medals. And on the back will be a piece of cloth, or a piece of cloth in a little window that was touched to a first class. And there you go. That's third class. I don't have a second class one, but hopefully soon I will get one in my collection. This is another cool thing, because this actually is another reliquary crucifix. And this contains the actual dirt from the tombs of the saints. And I don't know if you could see this, the catacombs of San Callisto. So when you unscrew this, the dirt is in here in the shape of a cross, which is really quite lovely, inlaid with this beautiful wood. I believe it may be olive wood. I'm not sure. And here's another kind of relic that you'll come across. They'll be like this one, but you'll put it in a monstrance. And this is a vessel that actually contains your holy relic, or it's also known as a reliquary. Now, St. Therese was canonized in 1925, and she was an ordinary nun in France, very, very ordinary. And she had problems, much like all of us do. And she had problems with her faith. She had problems with reciting her prayers. She had trouble concentrating when other nuns would make sounds when they were in prayer. It would annoy her. She would get aggravated. She actually learned how to be humble and learned how to love those who annoyed her. So when people annoyed her, she learned grace, and she learned how to actually smile at the people that were nasty to her or mean to her or cruel to her. And she learned that through that, you get grace from God. So if somebody's irritating the crap out of you, okay, St. Therese would have probably in her mind been like, I want to smack that girl or guy. But then she stopped herself. So she learned self-discipline. And that's really, really hard for most of us to do in these days. She believed that she would do good on earth while in heaven. So during World War I, a lot of miracles were attributed to St. Therese. She died at the age, I believe, of 23 or 24. So she died in 1897 of tuberculosis, and her last words were, "Oh my God, I love thee," or something like that. Okay, you can probably Google that, but pretty much she said she would shower the earth with roses. And during World War I, a lot of people knew of her. Talk got around about this humble, quiet, and gentle little nun who was very, very sweet and very charitable to other people. And she wrote a diary, and they started reading. It was the story of a soul, I believe, or a soul's journey. And they read it on the battlefield in the foxholes. And this was becoming a bestseller during the Great War. And there was a lot of soldiers that would actually be in the middle of battle and bullets whizzing over their head, and they would pray out and call out to St. Therese. One soldier saw a vision of St. Therese appear, and as he had to decide whether to go left or right while the bullets were whizzing over his head, she led him, and she said, "Come with me and you'll be safe." And he ended up, his whole battalion got killed except for him. Another one was someone was praying in a foxhole to Saint Therese, and a bullet pierced his pocket, and it did not penetrate because his crucifix was in his pocket. And a lot of soldiers had come forward after the Great War with stories of miracles after praying to this lovely little saint. Now I'll show you a picture of her. She was a beautiful, beautiful young lady, and she also loved Joan of Arc. She even dressed as Joan of Arc. So I'll show you her dressed in her Joan of Arc costume while she was a nun. She was quite interesting. And she even had a sword, and she put on a show for all the other nuns to cheer them up. She did not like to see other people sad, although she had problems as a child when her mother died very young of breast cancer. She was really, really distraught over it. I think she was about 4 or 5 years old, and she was actually basically paralyzed in her bed and couldn't move or talk. And when she saw a statue of the Virgin Mary beside her bed, all of a sudden she wasn't eating. She was almost near death, and she was so depressed. And she saw that statue smile at her, although she thought the statue was smiling at her. And she snapped out of whatever this was that she was having. Now, back then, they would have had a name, maybe some kind of disease or illness, but we all know it as probably depression and grief. And she snapped out of it and kissed the statue and became really interested in learning about Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary. And she had battles where she would actually pray to God. She felt dry. She felt like God wasn't answering her prayers or hearing her. And she goes through battles and went through battles much like we do. And what a beautiful, wonderful saint. So if you pray to Saint Therese, ask her for a rose. If she hears your prayer, you'll see a rose or you'll receive a rose. And I've already done that. And the next day I received a yellow rose. So I'm not going to say it's going to happen for you, but you might even see one, a picture of one. You might drive down a street and you'll see a street name called Rose Street. Or you might meet a lady named Rose. Then you know your prayers were answered. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys all soon.